Well, it's 2:31. We appreciate everyone being here to today's roundtable. I know that this is really a day before the holiday, so I know that you're making a special effort. However, I do think there's a couple of important items that we're going to talk about. So we'll just kick right into the presentation, and then we'll jump out of that pretty quick and get the roundtable going. Can everyone see that screen? Mr. McClure, are you good on that? Okay, so this is our roundtable series, and we sure appreciate everyone being here. It's April 1st, 2021. I know that this is the day before the holiday, so you being here and the input that you can provide is invaluable, and we really appreciate you taking your time. And of course, for those of you that know that folks that can't be here today, these are all posted on the CTAT YouTube channel. So make sure that if you know someone that couldn't be here, they can certainly watch on the CTAT YouTube channel. We do have some breaking news. For those of you that kind of follow me on social media, I flew in from Washington last week, and I was appointed to the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And for those of you that follow all my social media, thank you for your warm thoughts and thank you for your appreciation. I'm excited about serving with the government in a committee role, and I'm sure I'll get a good certificate of appreciation. So thank all you guys. Okay, so as George Jefferson goes, let's get this show on the road. Oh, George is one of my favorite characters of all time. I heard a cackle back there for some reason. I'm not sure what happened. But George says he wants to get this roundtable started because Mama's going to need her now. And as far as the COVID-19, there's not a lot of changes in the support and guidance. It's pretty well the same as when we met in March. So we're going to move on to some legislative news that's important. This came out today to the administrator address, and it's really just a change or to reaffirm what the travel reimbursements rates are. And of course, you know, what's allowable by the state is always on the Texas Comptroller site. And of course, the mileage is 56 cents a day. I think they have meals down at $55. I mean, $36 for non-overnight travel. And then your hotel rate is, if it's on the comptroller site and it has a specific county listed, then you use that. If the county's not listed, then of course you use the state comptroller's rate of $96. And of course, you can all find that on the Texas Comptroller site. And if you're not subscribed to the administrator address listserv, I highly recommend that you do that, because you'll get the same correspondence that your superintendent gets. And it won't take 6 months to go from admin to you. Okay, Robin posted on CTAT Connect yesterday or the day before about the changes that were coming through the House Bill 3 cleanup. I know I'm not saying it right, Robin, but basically it talked about how they're looking at changing the cost and reducing the weight for level 1 and 2 courses to 1.28 and increase level 3 and 4 courses to 1.48. And of course, George Jefferson didn't like that immediately when he saw it. However, it's a discussion point. And Robin, if you don't mind jumping in and talking a little bit about it, I have a couple of slides that refer to the spreadsheet in a minute. But Robin, can you kind of give us the lowdown on this?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just going to pull up our section of the bill. So yes, it's very interesting. So, you know, things can move very slowly or very quickly at the Capitol. So this cleanup bill was actually a committee substitute was introduced by the author on Tuesday morning at the hearing for the bill. So no one had a chance to even see this bill or, you know, offer comment, any meaningful comment, you know, without a chance to digest it. So Tuesday's the first we saw of this provision related to CTE. I think Huberty actually grabbed it from another bill filed by Representative Wilson, which was like a single page bill, and that would have varied the weights at 1.28 for level 1 and 2 courses and 1.48 for levels 3 and 4. So I called Huberty's office today just to get clarification on intent, which is really important when trying to understand this, because in our experience with House Bill 3, even though the legislation clearly established weighted funding in grades 7 and 8 for any CTE course, that's not the way it was interpreted by the agency, and that's not the way it was implemented. So intent is very important to understand. So what this bill seeks to do is, first and foremost, I think the intent here, as explained to me, is to incentivize and reward the completion of advanced courses, completion of programs of study. So in order to accomplish that, this bill removes funding, a weighted funding for any course that is not assigned to a program of study. Based on what I was told, it sounds like the intent would be to shift funding away from seat time and focus it on classes. I don't know how the agency would accomplish that in a back-end data system, but it sounds like that's the intent. So currently, there is no weight for middle school courses. As we all know, it's just the weight for high school courses taken in middle school for high school credit. So those courses get the weight. No other courses in middle school currently get the weight. So no weight for middle school courses, no weight for CTE courses not assigned to a program of study. And in theory, I think that also means no funding for students, even if they take 8 CTE classes. If they're not taking it part of their main program, that it doesn't get the weight. How they figure that out, I don't know. But it would be a reduction of the 1.35 weight for level 1 and 2 courses to 1.28. It would be an increase for advanced courses, level 3, level 4, to 1.48. And so it does that. So it would establish varied rates and pay by course. And students enrolled in a full program of study. Again, how it works in their data system, way above me. It also, it defines CTE as a program that includes only courses that qualify for high school credit. So I asked the staffer about that, and he confirmed that that section only relates to funding. It wouldn't have any impact on CTE courses that are offered at the middle school level. They would still be in code. So that's what I know. And then Mark, if you want to talk to them about the spreadsheet they can use, but really the reason why we bring this up and the reason why I sent the email is we're looking for your feedback on this so that we can advocate effectively on this bill. So we're very interested in hearing your thoughts. I know I have mine, but I don't want to wait and hear from you guys.
Robin, can I ask a question?
Sure.
When it says limit the funding to courses that are within a program of study, are they literally talking if a student's taking it within their identified program of study? Or, I mean, isn't every course essentially
that's the
study?
That's the thing. I don't know how. Yeah, I have the same question, but based on how it was explained to me, so let's say a student's taking auto tech, that's their chosen program of study, and they decide to take dollars and cents. I don't think dollars and cents would be funded at, I don't know if it would be funded at all, or if it would just be a 1.
But we don't identify a program of study per student while they're in process.
Right. I
Right.
didn't read
It's
it
always
like
a look
that.
back at the end.
I didn't read it like that originally. I read it kind of like Perkins. I can't spend money on wildlife, Perkins money on wildlife because I don't have that program of study, but I could still offer the class. So you're thinking it's, I don't know how they would track that. But you got the feeling it was
Yeah.
by kid, by student, not by course?
Well, see, that's the thing. So if it's by course, let's say a student could take advanced classes not in their program, and that class would generate the higher weight. I don't know how they would figure it out, because you just funding's based on seat time only right now. So
That
I
would
don't know
make that
how to
coherent sequence chart look nice.
Mhm.
I thought they meant if the course wasn't listed in a state approved or a regionally approved program of study, then it was not eligible for weighted funding. But any course that is in a, program of study, whether it be a regional or a state approved, would be. But again, maybe I read it wrong too. So.
Well, that's why I mentioned in the beginning that sometimes when this gets interpreted by the agency, I don't know how they would implement it. If they would allow, yeah, I don't know how they would implement it.
Well, and if they're not careful, they're gonna limit and start to cause closure of courses, maybe unintentionally, maybe intentionally, but I mean, there's a reason CTE courses receive weighted funding. If a student is sitting in the seat and is needing to be exposed to the curriculum and the equipment and the experience, it costs money to do that, whether that's in a program of study or not. And I also feel like that negates a little bit our push for program of study completion to support accountability, because you're starting to pit courses against each other, I guess. But anyway.
Robin, in the feedback that you provide, just something that I've been thinking about is, if it really is the goal is to get people to completion, why penalize on the amount of funding we have on the front end rather than give an incentive on the back end? We get our $50 for advanced, so put something on the back end and sweeten the pot in that way, because if not, you'll have districts that, if they're already struggling to get their 55% or even less, this is just going to hurt their bottom line. And I don't see that that's fair. And again, that doesn't go to their intent, but y'all are talking about also those courses, depending on how you read that program of study. We don't offer law enforcement on all of our campuses, but we darn sure have forensics. And I have almost 900 kids right now sitting in a forensics class, and they're not all in law. And so if they take that away, we'll have to get that at the campuses. We just won't be able to support and give those students options in their fourth year science credit.
And we're a district elite that we still have a technology credit. So our numbers in our first level, second level are inflated with those students maybe going on to ag or going on to auto tech, because every kid has to take a technology credit. And right now, Pitt and BIM are our go-to, with Principles of Arts AV being third, or, a close third behind.
Robin, as I understand it, if the course is part of any program of study, we'll still get funding for it based on whether it's level 1 or 2. The weight multiplier will change. Is when you talk to the staffers today, was that different? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit behind here.
I want to make sure I understand your question. Okay, so when I originally read the bill, I was thinking, okay, so any course that is assigned in a program of study, any course, that it would draw the weight regardless of whether or not a student has chosen it as their declared program of study. But I don't think that's the intent.
You think the intent is that they only get funding if the student is enrolled in that program of study?
Exactly. It's very And I don't know how TEA would keep up with that level of minutia.
I don't
That
either.
would be, and it's always a look, and it's just like Ashley said, it's always a look back after what they've done. You know, it's, and you get funded every single year and you've got a budget based on enrollment. So I don't see how it would be possible for you to do that.
If you have 4 kids sitting in that forensics class and 3 of them are in that program of study and 1 is not, there's no way that Skyward or any other student management system can funnel down to get that level of detail per student in the course. Now, like we talked about a little bit yesterday, the state
ESP
was,
does.
yeah, the
No,
state was,
ESP can go down that far.
well, when you're in your student information management system, you go to that course in the master settings, whatever it looks like, and you say, you tell it what the V code is, the hour code. And so it's either a 1, 2, or 3. And so once you code that course a 1, 2, or 3, then every student sitting in that course receives
Yes.
a 1.
Unless you turn it off for the student. So like if a student goes out to DAEP or something, you have to turn it off. So, but that would be a nightmare, just turn things on and off for students based on if they're in a program of study or not.
Ashley, I
hope this dies.
think though, when you say you turn it on and off, you don't really, it's not really like a toggle where you turn it on and off for the student. It's more like they withdraw and then re-enter the student when they
Not in our district.
We actually do it by date. So if they enter
yes,
today, we go in and turn their contact hours off as of April 1st. And then if they come back, we put a date where those turn back on.
yes, ma'am. That's, you're saying exactly, we're saying the same thing. It's
Okay.
it's a withdrawal and then a re-entry.
No, ours is not, because our students who go on homebound still can earn credit for the course. We just can't claim contact hours because we're not giving above and beyond the homebound instruction.
Agreed. But because they're not meeting the seat time. Yeah. Okay, very good.
But I think someone made the point that the programs of study isn't determined until summer submission by the state, by the courses that they've taken and the completion. So that's after we get the funding. I mean, it's the cart and the horse. It's at the wrong time. They've already done it. They've completed it. So the money's too late.
I tell you what, I'm gonna run through the spreadsheet slide real quick, and then I'm gonna put it back into gallery mode where we can kind of all see each other. But Robin sent this spreadsheet out that we put together, and it will calculate your enrollment. So if you, and I can email this out, I think, to everyone that's on this Zoom. I'll have the email and I'll send it to you. But if you only input the yellow cells, then you'll take your 1 credit level 1 and 2 courses, your 1 credit level 3 and 4 courses, and by credit or hour, and of course that correlates to seat time and contact hours, your 2 credit students, level 1 and 2, 2 credit 3 and 4, 3 credit 1 and 2, which I think that's going to be a 0 for everybody, and then 3 credit level 3 and 4. If you'll input that enrollment in there, then it will actually tell you what the difference is. Now, if you have a lot of 3 and 4, a lot of 2 and 3 credit classes with good enrollment, you're going to see that a lot of times the varied weight can result in more money to your district, because I've run 10 different sample numbers, but what we really need are numbers from actual districts so we can get the percentages right. And so if you can input that spreadsheet and then let Robin know what the results are, then I think that'll help a lot. And then, like I say, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing and put us back into gallery view. And if I stop someone's thought there, I apologize.
Mark, this is Lisa. Having met with a group of superintendents that were in our small rural districts out in our rural counties today, and they were asking me questions about this and talking to, there are other pieces of what's in this bill that they're hating. This isn't the only piece that they're not happy about. But they were we're really concerned that it will put a greater burden on our small rurals. They don't have as many practicums and work-based learning and things like that because they don't have the places for the students to go. So they tend to have a lot more of those 1-credit courses, and a lot of those reside in levels 1 and 2. So they are fearful that their funding, even though one piece of the statement in this was to help fix what has happened unintentionally through House Bill 3 to the small rurals, they're now going to get hit in a different way. And so they were pretty concerned about what this would do. So like you were saying, seeing some actual people's numbers play out to kind of see, do they need to be that concerned, or is it not going to change things that much, would be good to know.
Thank you, Lisa.
I can tell you a large district with large enrollment, our potential loss is 1.8 million.
And that was based on the theory that of how Margaret and Robin saw it before she talked to them today. When she talked to them today, if it changes to the other, not that I can figure out how they would do that, other than it becomes more like CCMR and less like ADA funded. It becomes less like, the weighted funding almost gets pulled away and has to be given at the end, because a student's program of study as a sophomore may not be their program of study as a senior. And so they're crossing over, and the legislator may not understand they're crossing into different areas, and that's not uncommon. And they're mixing things that technically can't really mix. And so then if they were to go through some of that, then it leaves that up to TEA's interpretation and how they would do that. And interpretation last time was middle school classes didn't get funding.
That's a great point, Lisa. And, my biggest concern is when they go into this and they're changing the weights without really knowing what they're doing, even the best intentions can turn upside down in the next legislative session, or even at the end of this one. So
Even if that 1.28 said 1.35, there's still that provision or the confusion around enrollment in program study. And there's still the confusion, or actually the negative impact of no weight for courses that aren't assigned to a program of study. So yeah, it's very, very confusing. I don't know. Yeah.
Robin, what's the next step here? Assuming we can get some numbers from some districts, and we need districts of all sizes. So the more of you that can submit your numbers and utilize that template, the better off. But what would be our next step here?
So Mark, does that template also allow administrators to subtract the FTEs for the courses not assigned to a program of study? So they would, because that would contribute to their totals.
It doesn't allow them to, I could make that where you take total enrollment, but the way it's set up now in the spreadsheet, if the course is not part of a program of study, a level 1 or 2 course, then it's not calculated into the spreadsheet at all. So in essence, it automatically subtracts it.
Very good. So to answer your question, the next step is to lobby the author, Representative Huberty, and members of the House Public Education Committee, and your local state rep. And I've actually drafted some, they're rough kind of points, but the thing is, we don't want everybody sending the exact same letter, because they don't pay attention to that. You have to let them know how it's going to impact your district specifically. So yeah. But I think as an organization, we need to figure out what the stance is on this bill. Do we take a stance? Otherwise, it's up to the districts to advocate whether or not they like that provision. And oftentimes, if there isn't a united voice, the lawmakers don't know what to do with it.
So Robin, this is Jennifer. I'm sorry. I had to come in like 10 minutes late because I was meeting with my superintendent. So I'm probably going to ask a question that's already been answered, but I kind of caught some of it. So again, like forensic science, like what Sherry was saying, I have a teacher that's all that she teaches and the kids love it. So they just gravitate towards that class as their fourth science. It is a part of my out of a program of study, but maybe out of those kids, only 20 of them are actually in that program of study. So in that spreadsheet that y'all were talking about, how would we put those in that spreadsheet? Would we just not count them? You know, to be able to configure the difference, you know, where you were, you know, I guess maybe that's where I'm lost.
Jennifer, the spreadsheet does not take that into account. The spreadsheet assumes that if the course is part of any program of study, that every student sitting in the course will receive the funding. If it's level 3 or 4, 1.48, if it's level 1 or 2, 1.28. And I can tell you right now, if that, I mean, all of you can sit here and do just a little bit of math in your head. If that bill does not apply funding for students sitting in a course that are not part of that program of study, we can all fold up our tents and head back to the house, because that's going to shut us down. So I don't think that's, if that's the case, we need to chase them down like Frankenstein, you know.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, how do you then go back to your district and say, okay, so I used to cover these 5 or 6 teacher salaries. Now you're going to have to cover them because I no longer receive weighted funding, which is actually used to pay for their salary. And then all of their supplies and things that they need and their trainings and all of that, that the district technically, I mean, hindsight, I guess they pay for it, but you know, all of that comes out of the 55%. And so now they would have to fully fund everything that you were funding out of that PIC 22 money.
Spot on.
I've also heard some other concerns that CTE will suffer enrollment next year just because districts were not able to recruit like they normally would. Are any of you anticipating any reduction in enrollment next year? Okay.
We don't know that it's going to be reduction in enrollment. We think we're going to have a lot of students repeating courses, which is in essence going to hit us more further down the road with our completers.
Well, and that for us, I think, like Kimberly just said, the repeat, but with our 8th graders not being able to really see and pick the choices that they wanted, we might have changes down the road, you know, in their sophomore year, they pick something else. And so when you think about actually making that completer status and looking at these dollars, I mean, that could definitely have an impact on this incoming 8th grade or freshman class.
Robin, I hope some districts see an increase in enrollment coming back, because students will be excited to take part into those classes that are, you know, hands-on engaging. I'm sure it'll be a little of both. Okay, that's like I said, I think I have everyone's email that signed on through Zoom. So I'll just email everyone that's in the spreadsheet. And if you, for some reason you don't get it, Robin has posted it in Connect CTAT. So you can go in there and download the spreadsheet that way. But Robin, is there a specific way, just email you what the impact on their district? Is that what you want?
That would be great. Because because Huberty thinks that it will be like a wash worst case scenario, that districts wouldn't lose funding. Because I think he recognizes, along with all the other lawmakers, that, it's going to take a while to recover from COVID and we don't need to be reducing funding.
Well, and I think another key point is that if you're in intro to welding burning rods, or if you're in practicum of welding burning rods, those rods cost the same amount of money. So I think that's another point that we need to take in. It's not cheaper to run the level 1 and 2 courses in most instances.
Yeah, the students are in the same classroom or lab with the same teacher using the same materials.
We actually had some of our teachers make the comment today, your first level actually run more because they're learning than your second level, who don't make as many mistakes on cakes, cookies, welding rods, the likewise.
That's true. I was just about to say the same thing. And a lot of times your entry level classes have more students in them than your upper level. So you have more kids accessing all those supplies. So they're more costly a lot of times to run than your upper level.
Yeah, great points.
Robin, can I ask you about something else in legislation that I'm getting hit with from leadership? So I'm getting questions about how is it going to affect, what are we going to do if now that they're talking about making virtual school available next year, and what's that going to do with CTE? Our answer as an ESC to them is right now is those are all unknowns. That is not the virtual school option, other than Texas Virtual School Network, runs out at the end of this school year. The only way it extends is through the legislator. But from what I'm understanding, the commissioner has more than once told the superintendents that that's likely to be coming, that there's going to be virtual school options for all schools to be able to do this next year. So I'm now getting all kinds of calls and emails saying, how does that play out? How does that affect my students in CTE? What about my middle school versus my high school? And I am not seeing where this is coming to the legislature. Are you seeing anything on this?
Are you looking for a bill number in particular? Because I think I need to look it up, but to your point, I think there is a bill that would allow virtual learning to continue and for districts to receive funding for that. And I think I was actually listening to the hearing on Tuesday. There is a bill. I'll find the number. Because there was an administrator from Forney ISD who testified that in their case, or case of any district, there could be one teacher of record serving students on multiple campuses. So let's say the scenario he put forward was, let's say that across your district, you've got, I'm just going to make up a number, 100 remote students, and they would draw to different campuses. Well, in that case, they could establish just a virtual high school. And so their teacher of record could serve the students regardless of their zip code, regardless of which school they're zoned to. There would be critical mass enough to offer that class virtually and have those students count as part of their enrollment. I think based on what I heard, that is the intent, but let me look up that bill number for you.
So that is, kind of, what I was hearing referenced, but what people are now wanting to know is, how does that play out for CTE? Are there going to be, are we seeing that we're thinking there's going to be provisions that say CTE classes still have to be offered in person? Are there going to be expected that these kids get offered full program of study access in virtual schools? Because I've had a lot of leadership saying, we are not having our teachers teach both virtually and face-to-face next year. We're not doing it. We won't have staff anymore. We can't keep doing this. And so they're trying to figure out how that plays out. And I don't have a lot of details. And so I was hoping maybe you had kind of a little bit of insight on it.
Well, and typically statute, which is what all these bills don't drill down to that level. So those are questions that get addressed by TEA when they implement the legislation. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of answers for you either.
Hey, Lisa, Julie from Region 10 sent me a note, and she said that she was in some discussions with TEA, and this question comes up every so many years. If you can do it virtually, then why do you need weighted funding at all? And then currently, as it reads in the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, if you're doing a virtual class, regardless of where the information is coming from, if they're in the brick and mortar building, if they're in a classroom, then the teacher standing in the classroom with them, even if they're just a monitor, still has to be certified for that course, and you have to meet the seat time requirement. So that would take a substantial change in rules to come about. But you know, everybody's kind of used to virtual learning now. I'm against it, but I don't get a lot of calls asking my opinion.
I just put a link to the bill, and the language in the bill is very vague. It just says that those students that participate in remote learning will be counted as part of the instructional hours required for school districts for ADA.
Thank you. Like, more to come, I guess. You know, we love
Hey,
legislative.
Lisa. Hey, Lisa, I will
Yes.
tell you that Clear Creek ISD, if I'm not mistaken, they were talking about doing a virtual high school for kids. So you might want to call down there and talk to Dana Morgan from this, she's the CTE director. But I know that if I'm not mistaken, she'd even mentioned it at, maybe it was a Gulf Coast meeting or something. I had met with them and they were talking about that, just, you know, from my past group about how they were making it through. But it was like at the beginning of all of this, like last summer, and that they were trying to figure out how to move forward. But I think they have a virtual high school, and I think they are offering some CTE courses. So you might reach out to her and see how they're doing that.
Jennifer, Miss Morgan even described that in a roundtable back late summer. So you're right
okay.
on point. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're right on. But those rules, assuming that remote instruction goes away and where the topic changes to virtual instruction, which means everything kind of goes back to like it did, then you know, you weren't able to receive career tech funding in the past unless there was a CTE teacher certified for that course standing in the room. Well, these are fun topics. What else does someone have?
Before we move on from that, I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the formula that were, you know, the Excel sheet that was sent out. And are we just working with courses that are in the program of study that we offer here right now? We're not looking, because I'm trying to decide, well, what's a level 1 if it's not in a program right now? We're just looking at programs of study courses.
Just courses that are in any program of study, right?
Right.
And so if there's a course like general employability skills that your district teaches, that's not in a program of study that I know of, and I might be wrong, but if it's in there, if it's not in a program of study, then it won't figure into your calculation. Just do your level 1 and 2s and level 3s and 4s.
All right.
I think if Rachel, if Rachel's in here, then I think Rachel was piddling around with the spreadsheet earlier this morning. Were you able to get much data in it, Rachel? If Rachel's here, she might not. Oh, sorry, a minute ago, maybe not.
Hey guys, she had to step out, but yeah, we're messing with it right now. Well, I'm just pulling together all the numbers and we'll plug it in this afternoon, or if not this afternoon, then first thing on Monday.
Thank you. So I thought I saw her, but sorry, she had to step out. Does anyone, while Robin's in here, does anyone have any questions over summer conference, or is everyone pretty clear on that? It's virtual. It's a hybrid, it's live and virtual. I think we're all excited about that. The presenters are going to be asked, even if you're presenting live, the presenters are going to be asked to submit a virtual presentation. And then if you attend live, you're also going to have access to those virtual presentations. Robin, did I was that all correct?
You got it. Yes, everyone that registers and attends in person will also be granted access to the platform where recorded sessions will be. But folks that attend in person, we're not recording the breakouts there. The presenters are going to pre-record the presentation videos, and those will be loaded into the platform. And so the virtual folks can just access that on demand, starting on that day of the conference, but the presenter won't be present. So they're in person, we're not recording or streaming.
If you have the ability, my recommendation is to sign up to be, to come in person, and then that way you get both. And so even, let's say you live in Fort Worth, for example, well, you might be able to come on Monday and Wednesday, but you might have to access Tuesday virtually. So that's going to help some of those directors that are close, or some of those attendees that are closer than others. And so I don't see any downside to signing up for the live. Robin, anything else we need to cover for conference, or that's probably gone out enough where everybody's probably seen it and got that? What do you think?
I think so too. And we will need presentations. We love our presenters. We will take good care of you. And I don't think we'll do a hybrid every year. So asking the presenters to present twice, I think, is just hopefully maybe a one-time thing.
Well, don't ask me for my predictions, because I thought we would have been back in the winter easily, or last summer even. So I do no prediction because they're always wrong. Okay, what other topics do? Oh, Candace is asking about the deadline for presentation submissions. And Robin, that's in April. I don't have
I
that
think it's
screen pulled
April
up.
30th, but
April
let me go
30th.
ahead and pull up that page.
Candace, you're still on for you did too good a job at Midwinter not to come back for the guidance.
I just talked to Leslie today, and I'm doing guidance again, but I may also have some research for teacher professional development based on their certification background too. So looking at that too. Don't know if I'll be done with it yet.
Rick needs to give you a raise.
Why don't you text him and tell him that?
I don't want to get a nasty text back like I got this morning. I know that several of you are working on your doctoral degrees, and you have some research going on for your dissertations. And so that might be a good opportunity to share some of the information that you're getting back with that. So that's another avenue that if you guys have a chance to make that as presenters.
Well, and I just went back to look in the chat. I think the question was asked about how do we access the email for the representatives that serve on House Public Education. So I haven't found one solid list. So typically you would need to click on the homepage for that rep, and there's a little button that says email. And so it'll automatically pop up for you.
Robin, what's kind of the timeline when everyone, when they get back next week? Is that too late?
I think we have some time. The committee heard it because they know they're on a tight deadline, so they want to keep the bill moving. But there are several more opportunities to change it. The bill could be amended on the floor of the chamber. The bill could be changed significantly in the Senate. And most likely this bill will go to conference committee. If the chambers want to do different things with the bill, or they don't agree exactly on each provision, then they will go to conference committee.
If they take the path of least resistance, just leaving it alone seems like it'll be. Vonnie asked about when conference registration is open. It's open now, right?
Not yet. We're
Sorry.
confirming with the trainers for their availability facility. And so we expect to launch next week.
I have a question that I would like to ask, just to kind of get some input on. Here we are in the spring, and it seems like that the COVID restrictions are kind of being dropped gradually. What are you guys being allowed to do as far as out of district travel for you as administrators, for your teachers, and for your students? Is that kind of loosening up a little bit?
Yeah, we've been allowing, pretty much we've been allowing travel as far as like athletic events anyway all year. But we've had a few trips that have gone overnight. We've had kids and administrators and teachers go for things out of town. So we've not really restricted it. It's just you're bound by wherever you go. There are restrictions on, if wear your mask or whatever. And as far as here at the school, it's a choice. The school district board decided that if you want to wear your mask, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So it's choice based right now. But we have been in school since August. I mean, we opened up, we did have virtual students at the beginning, but probably about, 2 months in, just like a lot of other school districts, we started jumping and bailing that ship and started forcing, or I say forcing, but creating a reason why students had to return, which basically was because they were not thriving. They were not successful. So we had them return to school because they didn't meet requirements, but we had some that met requirements and they were allowed to stay virtual because they were showing that they were successful. But from what I hear, we will not maintain virtual for next year at this point. Because it's too much on the teachers, it's too much on everyone. So can't hear you, Mark.
Well, I can't remember all that good stuff I was saying. Now, Ms. Bachman put into the chat that her district was still not allowing staff travel for PD. Are there any other districts that are still have that tight restriction of staff and administrators not traveling for professional development?
So in Round Rock, we don't have teachers right now that I know of traveling for PD, but I've got some ag teachers that want to go to a floral cert workshop at the end of the month. So I just put in that request to our deputy just now to see, I think because it's related to our IDC, it should be okay and shouldn't be an issue. But by all accounts, this summer we go back to normal. So we should be able to send kids to FFA State Convention and teachers to PD and do all the things that we want to. Now, what travel looks like might be a little different. How many kids are on a bus at that point, how many people in a hotel room, but we know that we should be able to send them unless there's some crazy spikes or changes.
Thank you. That's good input. And Ms. Crow put into the chat box that their district is still in case by case, and Kevin says that they're traveling like normal, so that's good news. Well, fantastic. It does look like that most of the districts will be able to travel to summer conference if you were going to attend anyway.
I'm looking forward to it. Like I'm hovering over registration any minute. Ready. Go.
Robin, you might need to up the rates just a little bit. When the demand is high.
I'm a hands-on learner. I need to be in person.
I understand completely. Okay, it's about 3:20, and I know that many of you are kind of wanting to wrap up so you can get out of there for Good Friday. And I do appreciate all of you being here. And I don't want to, if you have a question or a comment or something that you want to discuss, we certainly have time, but I don't want to keep you if you're staying here out of politeness. So does anyone have a question or comment you would like to hear from the group before I hit the stop recording? Okay, well, thank you for being here, and I really appreciate you guys taking your time on this Thursday afternoon. And I do think that a lot of good discussion happened. And as Robin gets more feedback as far as how the varied weights on the funding will impact the district, I think she'll have a lot more ammo to discuss with legislators as her and Marty meet with them throughout the rest of the legislative period. So thank you all for that. Okay, and yes, Bonnie, I'll try to send that funding sheet out just as soon as as it stops. So I'm going to hit recording, and then thank you for being here. And then if you have something off the record, you know there's always a little off the record. So thank you all for being here, and have a great holiday week.